Hi, my name is Lakesh and I'm live from the Stephen Lawrence Centre. Recently, there has been a lot of press coverage surrounding the issue of status dogs. Only today, the BBC have covered an article on Labour's plans to change the law on dangerous dogs. Although Britain is a nation of dog lovers, their dangerous behaviour has become an area of concern and laws are now being passed to control the situation. Certain breeds of dogs, such as the pit bull, are being targeted and under the Dangerous Dogs Act are banned from public places. But is it fair that only certain breeds are deemed dangerous? Many young people are seen to encourage violence in dogs, and ministers are calling for dog bows for ASBO owners. Maybe it comes down to the owners who use their dog to intimidate and threaten people, or is it the breeds themselves? With us today we have the Metropolitan's head of the Status Dog Unit, Sergeant Ian McParland. But before we have a chat with him, here is a short film with Aaron Weller.
Name's Aaron. I have 5 dogs. This is Tyler, one of many. He's an American Bulldog. Bonnie, the staff, she's now 14. She had her from the pup. She was 8 weeks old. Tyler, I've had him now for 3 years. I've had him since he was a pup.
Yeah, they've been brought up around all my children and I've never had a problem with any of my dogs. I don't think my dogs are aggressive. My children can come in, they can rough and tumble with the dogs and my dogs will not attack them. I think it's the way the animals are brought up. It's all to do with the owners, I think.
Other people may use them for threats, not me. Use them as a family pet, their company. They're good to cuddle up to in the night or when you're upset. They're just a good companion. Come here.
Come here, Rox.
Something to do with the owner. Dogs are only become dangerous in the way you bring them and their upbringing, and it's nothing to do with them. It's unfair.
They're just lovable, they're my pets. They're just a joy to have around the house.
Good afternoon, Sergeant. Could you tell us what the Status Dog Unit is?
The Status Dog Unit was set up by the Metropolitan Police in response to the huge increase in the number of dog seizures that have happened in London. If you go back to 2002 to 2006, the Met seized on average about 42 dogs a year. That's gone up year on year until last year we seized 1,074 dogs. The unit actually comprises myself and 5 officers. We come from a dog section background, so we've always worked with dogs and we're now dealing with this problem in its entirety.
How do you identify status dogs?
I'd identify them by looking at them, basically, and comparing them to a standard. Obviously, I've been dealing with pit bulls for the last 26 years since I joined the dog section in 1984. I know what one looks like. The courts, however, require a standard, and the standard is the one given by the American Dog Breeders Association. They actually published it back in the Pit Bull Gazette in 1977, and it talks about how the form of the dog meets its functions. It talks about how the shape of the dog actually helps the dog do what it was originally intended to do when it was kept as a fighting dog.
And in your experience, what category of people actually own these status dogs?
All sorts of people own them. The majority of dogs are obviously owned by young people. One thing I think it's important to say is actually nearly all of them love their dogs. Whatever they're using them for, the vast majority of them actually love their dogs.
Okay, so do you think it's maybe the media to blame for the discrimination against certain breeds of dogs, or are the dogs all innocent in this?
I think the media are reporting what's happening. From a Metropolitan Police point of view, there's been no change in our policies since we started dealing with the Dangerous Dogs Act. We've always dealt with exactly the same thing. So we've dealt with dogs where they've been used in antisocial behaviour, where they're protecting criminal assets, or when someone rings us and says there's a pit bull at 27 Acacia Avenue or whatever address. Because if we didn't deal with that, and an incident happened 3 months later or whatever, and a child was injured, a person was injured, the first thing people do is say, well, we told the police about it and they've done nothing. We can't win. I think the media are just reporting what they're actually seeing happening on the streets.
Okay, and do you think it's fair, because you deal with these dogs on a day-to-day basis, do you think it's fair that only certain breeds are being targeted, or do you think it's dogs as a whole and how they are brought up by their owners?
The answer to the whole problem is obviously to encourage responsible dog ownership, and we often say 90% of the problem is at the owner's end of the leash.
Yeah.
The problem with big bull breeds, and pit bull obviously is what we're talking about in the main here, is that they get very excited very quickly. That causes a problem because when they do become excited, that play can become aggressive, and that's where injuries can be caused in a family.
Okay, thank you for joining us today. Remember to tune in next week at the same time for another broadcast live at the Stephen Lawrence Centre.